Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Good Human podcast. So, over the last few weeks since we put out our first episode, we've had a number of questions from people who have watched, which is amazing. So, thank you very much for your questions. We're going to do our best. I've actually merged some because we got some questions that were quite similar, so I've merged some into one. Really great questions. So we're going to do our best to answer a bunch of them today. Also worth noting that we are got member only content.
Yes.
So I've selected a few of those questions to answer for our members over at Good Human. So there's a link to the website in the description below. And one of those questions that we've answered for our members is about protein powder and is it appropriate to be using protein powder. So we talk about that quite in length, and we talk about what does a non-processed diet look like.
Yeah.
So we go really in depth in that one.
Day-to-day sense.
Yeah, like what would you eat for your meals. And so we go really in depth in that. So that's available in our members only content, which you can find in the description below. So today we are going to answer some of these questions here. Right, where will I start? If I laugh at these questions, it's not because I think they're inherently funny, it's because they're so common as a question, like they're a common problem. So this one I definitely came across a bunch of times before. I've got a long history of starting exercise and sticking to it for a few weeks, they say 5 or 6. And then I just seem to lose interest and motivation. I can't figure out how other people just seem to have infinite motivation.
Okay. Yes. If you want to answer to that, would you like me to answer?
Go ahead.
My first instinct to that question is how are you fitting that? Oh, how to describe this? Is that doing the exercise a difficult habit? How do you make that easier so that you're not just relying for when you're motivated? Because the thing is, for people that do exercise regularly, is they're not relying on motivation. It's ingrained into them to go every day it's just a part of them. So I think that's an issue of creating a habit and sticking to it.
So if somebody's, and I think the context of the specific question is actually quite good. So if somebody's been doing something for 5 or 6 weeks and then they just seem to lose their words, I just seem to lose interest and motivation. I can't figure out how other people seem to have infinite motivation. So, well, you're saying like it's not motivation, it's habit, right?
Yes.
So is 5 or 6 weeks maybe just not long enough to build that habit?
No, and I would look at how you're integrating it into your life as well. You know, are you going at 9 o'clock at night and you're most likely tired and after work, and maybe it's easier to go in the morning. Things like, how do you make it easier so it is a habit and it's not a chore or a thing you have to force yourself to do and think about a lot? That would be my first instinct to that question.
Yeah, no, and I think you're absolutely right. I think there's another little bit in here that I find quite interesting as well. I have a long history of starting exercise. Be careful of the narrative that you tell yourself about yourself, because what that reads to me, and it might just be wording, but what that reads to me is this is somebody who has beaten before they've started. So when they start something, they already have decided ahead. They don't know that they've decided this, but they've already decided ahead of time that they're not going to stick it.
You've got that expectation there.
I'm probably going to give up after 5 or 6 weeks. Now, why 5 or 6 weeks is their benchmark, doesn't really matter. For some people, it will be a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Also, are you doing things you enjoy?
That as well, yeah.
You know, are you trying to force yourself to play tennis when you suck at tennis and you hate tennis?
Yeah.
I think tennis is probably pretty cool, but you know, like maybe you hate it. Like maybe you're trying to go to an exercise class and you don't like the instructor, you don't like the vibe.
You don't like what you're doing.
Or like there's also things like maybe it's not challenging you.
In the right ways, yeah.
Yeah, like maybe it's just boring.
I went to spin class once. I hated it.
I love spin.
No, I would never. I hate anything to do with bikes. See if that was only for my exercise, right? I would not be exercising. Okay, I'm telling you right now.
I love spin.
Oh my god. Oh no, never again. But that's my point.
I'm sure David Goggins once said he went to like 4 spin classes a day.
Nah, that is hard.
That's hard.
Hated it. But that's the point. Is I will never go to spin. Okay, so if you're going to spin and you hate it and you think that that's what you should be doing, no, find something else.
All the sports that I've ended up doing long term have been things that I've loved doing.
Yes.
Like mountain biking, cycling, hill walking, CrossFit, obviously. Like they've all just been things that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
There's been other things I've enjoyed and I've given up or whatever for different reasons, but like I've played basketball and tennis and stuff. I like them, but like didn't hook me.
That and enough to go when you're kind of tired.
Yeah.
And, yeah, totally. I think maybe how you're approaching it as well. Maybe you're a social person, so a social sport would be much better for you.
Yeah, so there's another one. Like, see people that go to the gym on their own.
Yeah.
Brilliant for some people.
That.
Some folk excel, and maybe that's their time out where they just don't have to deal with anybody. But also, maybe you need a bit of social interaction, and you don't even realise it.
To make it enjoyable as
Yeah,
well.
like maybe you spend all day with work colleagues that you don't gel with.
Yeah.
I was going to say that you hate, but whatever.
Have that problem.
You know, so like then mixing with like-minded people in a class, like say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or like a CrossFit class or whatever, like maybe you need to find your people.
That as well, your sport, your people, your environment, 100%.
So just like paying attention to like, don't just chase the shiny object, like, or the newest like fad or whatever, and actually spend a wee bit of time about thinking about who you are and what you like doing.
Yeah, that.
For me, I'll be honest, one of the things that always keeps me interested in a sport is, can I keep progressing at it?
Yes.
Like, is it interesting? Like, skills. You know, like, I think for some people that'll definitely be like, so like the CrossFit thing for me is definitely because it challenges me and it's never stopped.
That I was going to say,
you know, I'm like
humbled every day.
15 years deep or something now, and it's not something that you just go, oh, that's me done, I'm good enough at that now.
Yes, there's always something to be better at, always. Yeah.
Hopefully that helps.
Hopefully that helps. Good question.
Okay, so this one is versions of this anyway are commonly come up. I am a 23-year-old female. I see lots of girls lifting weights. I would like to be really strong, but I'm scared of looking masculine and being made fun of. I was bullied at school for having short hair and looking like a boy. So, to be fair, they don't actually ask a specific question, but...
Yeah, getting the vibe, yes. Want me to answer?
Yeah, go for it.
The confidence, I hear you on that, actually, I do. I think the issue here is not the being scared of looking masculine, because some girls love that. Me and my friends all would say there's no skinny summer anymore, it's swole summer. Okay, we want to get, you know. I don't think it is in the looking masculine. I think the issue is here in the individual or people who suffer from this is very much deriving your value and your confidence based on what other people think of you and what they are saying. Because we could flip that question, it could be somebody that's suffering and it could be they're too skinny or they're too feminine or they're too X, Y, Z. But the issue always is you're placing your value as a human being into other people and what they have to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I was never bullied at school, right? So I don't know. I do, because I'm not an idiot, know how damaging that could be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how much that can feel like it is part of, like it stays with you.
Yeah.
You know, like it's such a, and they don't say the degree to which they were bullied or whatever. You know, if they were like, it doesn't matter. But how much that can become, like that can govern your actions as an adult.
Yes, absolutely.
And what I one of the things that I sort of try to get people to think about is not living in the past you. That past you is gone. And that past you can only have power over present day you if you make it so. If you give it. Nothing you can do about past you. We've all had horrors in our past. We've all had bad things happen to us. How we choose to think about those things and how we choose to allow them or not to hang over us. I know that people struggle with this when I say it as a choice. It's a choice, but you have to keep making that choice. It's not like you just sit down one day and go, I'm going to choose not to allow that thing to traumatize me anymore. You have to work at it and keep, and it'll be easier for some people than others. Like some people will have lived, I don't really mean to go down a rabbit hole of trauma here, but I think bullying for a lot of people is
stays
massive.
With you, scars you, absolutely.
Yeah. Like how people deal with trauma is going to vary massively depending on a lot of things, like how that trauma has then affected them over the years, and so it's kept coming up, or whether or not they've been able to go, that was in the past, that was something that happened to me, that wasn't my fault, I didn't do that thing. I'll be perfectly honest though, even if there was something that was your fault, you can still let that go and forgive yourself and move forward. You don't have to be that person that you were when you were 13, 17, 18, 20, it doesn't matter how far in the past. If you want to move forward and you want to change, you can put that past behind you.
Absolutely.
I am not going to say it's easy.
No,
you just have to keep working at it, and you have to keep believing that it's possible for yourself.
It takes a long time. See the change. So when we're talking about changing, you're changing the finding value in what other people are telling you and then finding it within yourself. And how do you do it? How do you gain that confidence within yourself? And I truly believe it is in knowing that you wake up every day and you try your best to be a good person. You make the best decisions that you can. You get up and you go to the gym and you train, and then this young lady or whoever it is talking about going to the gym and training.
I'd like to be really strong, she says, but I'm scared of looking masculine. And that tale from the past, that and being made fun of.
That you know that you, and more so than other people, you're choosing to put yourself in a difficult situation. You're choosing to do the hard work. There's such a sense of value in knowing that you're doing that, and confidence that comes with making those decisions, that when somebody would say to you, oh, you're looking bulky, it's like, why would that even be an insult, you know? When you were speaking about it there, I was trying to think about, I can't relate to the masculine thing, but something that people would pick on me about, or that kind of stayed with me. It's when you were talking about it stays with you as you go through to be an adult. And I think I grew up as a chubby kid and people would make fun of me in school. I wouldn't have said they bullied me by any means, but that stays with you as an adult. And I think even there was times, even a few years ago, you still think of yourself as a chubby adult. But it could have been anything, I think, for me, but it was that for me. And a year ago, someone said to me, some boy that I rejected, nicely, said, I think he made a fat comment, but I have done so much work in not caring what other people have to say about me, and I know me now as well, and what I was saying about having good values, and they said that chubby comment, and I looked at them and I was like, me? I was like, I bust my balls every day in the gym, and I eat good, and I treat people really nicely. You think I even care that you think I would even be fat? Or even if I was, I'm what? I'm a good fucking person regardless. And I think that's where you need to focus on when it comes to things like that and gaining that confidence.
I think it always takes me back to the same thing. And this is quite a difficult position to get to. It's easy enough to understand, but it's hard to get to. Is understanding that what people say about you, what people think about you, it's none of your business. It's all about them.
100%.
So that guy saying to you, like whatever it was he said, say he just said you're fat, right? That is about his insecurities, his fear of you, his fear of rejection.
Yep.
Like, that is all about his lack of confidence. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't trigger something in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the more you can understand and the more you can start to live in a world where you know that what other people think has got nothing to do with you.
Yeah, no.
And most of the time it's not verbalized.
Yeah.
Most of the time you're making up what other people think. So you're maybe not doing something because of what people will think of you. But that's all you, because you've no idea what they think of you, so you're just making those thoughts up. And the more you can live in a world where you realise that, the easier it gets to live in that world. It just takes a lot of practice.
It takes time, it does. And you hit the nail on the head. That guy, and I remember thinking at the time, why would I care what you had to say when you're, it's not cruel, but you're mean enough to say that to another person. I don't care. I know I'm a good person. I know I have strong values, and that's where you derive that sense of confidence. And that a few years ago, though, that would have probably like broke me a little bit, but not anymore. You know, totally. So I can relate that journey. Absolutely,
it's a good journey. And you know, we'll talk about this often. We'll keep coming back to it because it's so central to so many people's problems as they move through life.
As well.
Is worrying about what other people think and being brought down by what other people think.
Yes.
And it's such a nice place to be. That's when you know your confidence is really up there. Is when like it doesn't touch you. In fact, honestly, see if somebody says something to me, which by the way they never do. Why not? Because my confidence is scary. Because my confidence buffers it. There's no vulnerability. I don't have a vulnerability that they can pick on.
Yes.
And I would challenge them to come at me and find it because I'm not aware of it. I'm actually kind of curious.
Challenge accepted.
I know. I don't know. Like, I know who I am. I know that if they came at me and said, I don't even know, Beth, right? That's how far removed from it I am. I don't even know what people would say to me. Like, say they came at me and said, oh, you're pretty masculine. I'd be like, yeah.
Own it.
Yeah. And then I would be like, okay, for them to come at me with that, they're obviously frightened of something. You know, maybe me. Maybe they're frightened of masculine women. You know, meaning alpha personality. You know, maybe my alphaness threatens their masculinity. You know, so fear, and then the need to try and control me and bring me down.
Yes, and make you feel a certain way.
You know, which of course isn't going to happen, so that's going to be really disappointing for them.
Darn it. But try somebody else.
And then I end up feeling sorry for them, and you know, whatever. We'll move on.
Great question.
Right, where have we got to? Okay, yeah, I read this one earlier. I've been doing CrossFit for just over a year. I think this is common, right? Okay. I've been doing CrossFit for just over a year, and I don't seem to be getting any better anymore. Everyone else seems to keep hitting PRs, but I'm not. Am I genetically limited? Is there something I am doing wrong?
Aww.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start with this one, right? Mostly just because I've been a coach for so many years and I've came across this so often. Because if somebody actually makes it to a year of that type of training, they're doing pretty well. Like, they're doing really well. I would say most people that give up within that first year. But a lot of people do give up around about that first year. Because in that first year, they get this incredible linear progression where every time they just like touch the barbell, they can add kilos to it. 10 more kilos! And some of that's neural adaptation. Some of that's just learning the skill. Some of that is, of course, getting stronger because they've not been doing anything like that before. And, you know, a lot of that at the start is they don't know what heavy means. So they think 25 kilos is heavy, and then they think 35 is heavy, and then they think 45 is heavy. And they don't realise that it's heavy until it gets to, like, for their position at that moment, it's like maybe more like 85, you know? So in that first year, they get this wonderful linear progression where they just keep getting better at everything. The weights go up, they're having a great time, they're going home, they're telling their friends and their family, and everybody's getting so bored of it and all this. And punctuated by exactly keeping horns outside, sorry about that. So they're saying that they don't seem to be getting any better now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that linear progression is dying off.
Yep,
now there's a number of reasons that this can happen. They've gone on to say everyone else keeps hitting PRs, but I'm not. That might be a fallacy.
Yes.
Because as soon as you start to feel a little bit down about yourself, you can start to compare yourself to other people and look for evidence that they're doing better than you are.
Yes.
Okay, so there could be a bit of fallacy there. Also, they might be looking at people that are training harder.
Yeah.
Like, so which takes me to the next part, which is, am I genetically limited? Is there something I'm doing wrong? Actually, there might be.
Yeah, absolutely.
There might be. So your genetics do matter, but they don't really matter so much in terms of your own personal progression. They might matter in terms of your progression versus my progression, which is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. Okay, so look at you as your own person. Don't look left, don't look right. Concentrate on you and keep building on you. So that's fairly straightforward, simplistic stuff. So say they've got that, right? Mm-hmm. So now they're only worried about themselves and they're like, I'm still not progressing. So they've done a year, they've had the linear progression, and now they're not, the weights aren't going up, like they feel like they're not like moving forward. They're just about ready to give up. Mm-hmm. What things could they be doing or what could they maybe be doing better?
Could be better. You might just be turning up to this is something to ask yourself, be real with yourself. Are you just turning up to the gym and just going through the motions? Or are you putting in deliberate practice, hard work, pushing yourself? Are you opting to try heavier weights, over longer periods of time? Or it could be you're going too heavy too often, you're doing too much. Did they say how much they trained or that?
They just say they've been doing CrossFit for just over a year.
Yeah.
Straight off the bat, they don't say how many times a week they're going or anything.
Yeah. Lifestyle things. Are you in a new stressful job? Like stress, that'll affect. Stress outside of the gym will affect how you perform in the gym. But biggest mistakes are 1, comparing yourself to other people, and 2, getting real with what you're doing while you're in the gym, and are you working as hard as you think you're working? Mm-hmm. And if you're following CrossFit program, I guess it's different, but if you're going into the gym just yourself, like I think
they're just saying I'm doing CrossFit for over a year, so they're probably going to a class. If they're in a year, they're probably going to a class.
Yes, as well. So
I would say, again, just having coached for so long, the things that I see coming up commonly is people start to go, they enjoy it getting easier. Yeah. So they've reached that, say 25 kilos, so maybe you're for a female, that's quite a nice weight to put. You've got your 15 kilo bar with your 5s on each end, and you're doing thrusters with it, and you're you can snatch it and stuff, and you start to quite like that feels very doable. You're getting quicker with it, which is great. That definitely should be happening. Form good and all that. But maybe you sit on that weight. Mm-hmm. Maybe you've been now sitting on it for a few months, because I've only been doing it a year, which means that it's not a very long time, and I get that people think it is a long time, and it's I've said to people, and I see their horrified little faces in the classes before, I've said your first 3 or 4 years when you're still learning. I've been doing this 4 months and I'm a professional.
Well,
I'm ready for the games.
And also realistic expectations about how long it takes you to add weight on to certain movements. Yeah. I'm trying to add 2.5 on to one of my lifts for 6 fucking months. Okay, that. I don't know, month to month, if you're making progress.
I think there's another really glaringly obvious thing here that's not mentioned. So they don't say how often they're going. Maybe they're going twice a week.
It's just not enough.
And that's great. That's more than you were doing before.
Yeah.
Once a week, twice a week. Don't let anybody tell you that is rubbish. Mm-hmm. But it might not be enough for you to see the progress that you were getting from that once or twice a week
Like
before.
you're expecting.
So now, this is where it grows arms and legs, and why something like CrossFit becomes so like compulsively addictive. It's because you start going more because you get better results. And like I think that's a pretty good like compulsion to have, right? There's like
worse.
You could do worse things with your time. There's debates over like the addictiveness of CrossFit and if that's like healthy or not. But I think for most people they're still in the healthy range, right?
You're like, it's fine.
It's like I would still debate that it's a lot healthier than spending that time watching Netflix and watching other people doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
You know. But the other one is, what are they eating?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything I'm doing wrong? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you're doing everything wrong. Because although you're showing up to class, let's just say you're going 4 times a week. Are you eating enough?
Going to class 4 times a week is one part of the picture.
I'll tell you something so deep subject. Something that happens, and I always thought this was mostly just a female problem, but actually it's not, it's a guy problem as well. Is the body dysmorphia that can start to happen amongst CrossFitters. So once you get a little bit more into it and you start seeing changes in yourself, but then you see that person that's always in the sports bra and the booty shorts, and you're like, oh my god, they look amazing. And they've been doing it for 6 years.
Yes.
And you're like, why don't I look like that? And they train 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and they watch everything they eat, and you're going, why don't I look like that?
Yes.
And I've just given you the answer. You know, and also like genetics play a different part in how you're gonna. We talked about this a lot last week, you know, and how you're going to look and how like don't aspire to look like somebody else. Like that's insane. Like don't look at somebody else and want to look like that. Want to look like you, because you're fucking amazing. And being good with that, and being the most amazing version of yourself, and putting the work into that rather than trying to replicate somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, so gone maybe a wee bit off topic, but the chances are, I would hazard a guess, having seen this often, some days a year in, maybe they need to train a wee bit more often, maybe. Probably their diet is not matching their exercise.
Yes.
Often it's that they're not eating enough, especially in CrossFit. And then there's other things as well, like what's your sleep like? You talked earlier about when in the day are you training?
Yes.
Like, I think that was for the last question, I think, but something I've noticed is that people that train first thing in the morning tend to be the ones that get the best results. And it's got nothing to do with it being at 6:30 in the morning, it's because of the habit.
Yes.
They are much less likely to have something get in the way of them coming.
Yeah, 100%.
So the people that come at 6:30 tend to be very religiously, that's when they show up, they train, they go and get on with their day.
Yeah. Have such a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they're not held up at work, they're not held up in traffic, you know, they've not had a phone call about their kids at school.
Last minute plans.
Yeah. You know, so
things to consider.
Yeah. So what next?
I like these questions.
Yeah, these are great, and I think they probably resonate a lot with
a lot of people.
A lot of people, yeah. This one made me laugh. Just because I've heard this so often. My work colleagues make fun of my healthy lunches, and it's really annoying me. They are hammering processed food and fizzy drinks, and they are judging me with my choices. I've explained to them that I'm trying to lose weight and that my foods make me feel great, I have more energy, my mood and concentration is better, etc. Why do they want me to eat junk like them? It doesn't make sense to me, and it's making me want to eat my lunch in the car.
Do you know, I used to have this exact experience.
I think, I'm laughing at that because I think that has to be really common.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'll be probably some of the reasons, or a reason that people struggle the most with sticking to a certain way of eating is what it's like when they go to work. 100%. You should know that when these people are trying to make you feel bad, it's because they're trying to make themselves feel better. They want you to join in on their less than way of eating to make themselves feel better. You
So
make them feel bad. Yeah.
It justifies the food they're eating.
That you bringing in your healthy lunch makes them question their lunch.
Yeah.
people don't like that uncomfortableness, so they look to resolve it as quickly
So they
as
feel
can.
like you're judging them.
That is exactly why. And that's
So they're
why
judging you.
Yes, and people used to force cakes down your face because it made them feel better about their choices.
Yeah, 100%. I think, honestly, that's it in a nutshell.
Next question.
Move on. To be honest, actually, yeah, like, why do they want me to eat junk like them? Like, what could that person do about it? Honestly, see, go back to what we said earlier about like people trying to control you to make like, because that's their insecurities and their fears, and like maybe you could have a little compassion for them and where they're at.
Yes.
So instead of having the friction, you know, like people make fun of my food, right?
Yes.
But they never try and change me. Like, I mean, you literally took a photo of my snacks the other day.
Oh my gosh.
She even put it on Instagram. That's how funny it was.
So
apparently, I still don't get the joke.
Everybody was flabbergasted, by the way. Anne had a tub, and it was 2 florets and some broccoli, raw broccoli. Oh my god, not cut or anything, and just 2 whole carrots, not peeled, not even like the ends chopped off or cut into little sticks. Anne woke up, looked in her vegetable cupboard, and went, "It's all dead." But Lidoni came to train them. And it's like, why do people not want to eat vegetables? Why not? Why do you not want to be like this, guys? I was just like, oh god.
Oh no, that's so funny.
Okay. But you're right, nobody is trying to change you.
Nobody tries to change me. So why is that? Let's go back to that confidence thing again. So people will make fun of me because they know I can take it. Like, they know it doesn't hurt me. And like, I'm not going to like go away and just eat cake because Beth put a picture of my carrot and broccoli on Instagram. I mean, she shouted me big time. But also, I'm not trying to make it a secret, and it's like I'm not embarrassed by it, and I don't feel vulnerable about it. And so I think maybe sometimes when people are trying to eat well, they are a bit vulnerable about their diet.
Yeah, and they have kind of that, you're trying to be a healthier person, but in your head you maybe still don't quite feel there.
So the identity's not moved.
You know, so your confidence isn't there with that. Absolutely. And if they're making fun of you and what you're eating, like, honestly, just make fun of them. Don't do that.
Look at that. No wonder you look like that.
Yeah,
don't do
judge
that.
Don't do that.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's that in a nutshell. That's a good question. I think a lot of people will feel like that. Let me see. Oh, this one, right. Okay, this isn't it's not a hard question, this. But it's a really good question, and I forget that people don't know this. Is fruit good or bad? I know you say, I don't have my glasses on, gotta make it bigger. Is fruit good or bad? I know you say eat lots of fruit and veg, but isn't fruit full of sugar? I've been limiting how much of it I eat, but because you keep saying lots of fruit and veg, I'm wondering if I might be wrong. Fruit, yes or no? Please say yes. Yes.
Yeah, that.
Pretty much. That old narrative of fruit is just sugar comes from that weird, messed up diet culture. Probably the company that perpetuated that was trying to sell some sort of product, some sort of like detox or like just drink this shake and you'll lose loads of weight.
Wow.
Like whatever it was.
It was probably Cadbury trying to sell you back into, if you're eating the sugar, you might as well eat a chocolate bar.
Right, like, and I don't get this that often, but it does still come up. People do still avoid fruit. I say I don't get it that often. Actually, I think I do get it quite often still.
Yeah, no, that's what,
Yeah, like people are like, I'm avoiding, and they'll tell me like in a way like I'm going to approve. So I've not been eating much fruit, and I'm like, please eat the fruit.
Yeah,
Please eat the fruit. What are you eating instead of fruit? You're probably eating crap.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
Let's weigh this up. So yeah, your fruits, man. Like, see, for people that are struggling with the veg, eat the fruit.
Eat the fruit. Do eat the fruit. And the reality of you eating too much fruit, very unlikely. Very unlikely. I watched a program where somebody ate 10 apples in a day. That's borderline, where we'd be like, maybe a bit too much fruit then.
Like, I mean, that's like the carrot and baked bean diet. It's like the apple diet.
But they were eating 10 apples a day, and they were wondering why they weren't losing weight. And I was like, that's a hefty amount of calories in apples. Like,
on top of all the other things that they were
that
eating as well.
yeah. So it was, they weren't just eating apples.
So yeah, your fruit like has such a massive place in your diet.
Yeah,
Massive.
totally.
And great for snacks. Like most fruit comes like in its own little package, you know, like an apple, perfectly packaged, right? A banana, perfectly packaged.
Bananas, yes.
Yeah. Was it EC saying like newsflash, like woman eats 2 bananas in a day and doesn't die.
that people like, oh, bananas got the same calories as a chocolate bar, and it's a banana. It's okay.
Like there was a meme or a Facebook post that went around like about 7 or 8 years ago, and it was everywhere. And it was 2 pieces of toast, one with Nutella, I think it had on it, and the other with avocado. And it was like, you know, calorie content on each and whatever. And people literally were showing me this like as evidence that I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, so the nutrient density, we're still having this conversation. These were not people that I hadn't had this conversation with before. But it's like that loss of understanding, like where people are only looking at the calories.
Yes.
And they're forgetting about the nutrient quality.
How that's going to make you feel.
Yeah. So the nutrients in an avocado. Avocados are one of those like few foods that's quite close to being a sort of superfood in itself. You know, it's got so much going for it that like eat the avocado, maybe not so much the Nutella.
Eat the fruit.
Eat the fruit. And an avocado is a fruit, by the way.
Is it? I always wonder. Fun fact.
Yes. Right, I think we'll do one more. Okay, right. Okay, basically, oh no, what's this one going to be? Again, this is something, I wouldn't say I come across it a lot, I do come across it. I've been cutting out carbs and lost loads of weight. My wife says my breath stinks and I'm bad-tempered. I'm not sure what to do. I'm a 36-year-old male and CrossFit 4 times a week. It might also be relevant that I feel like I don't enjoy training as much. My progress has stalled recently. It used to be the best part of my day. Now I have to make myself go. I feel great about the weight loss and I'm scared. Okay. And I'm scared to add carbs back in. What can I do?
Add the carbs back in.
There's your answer.
Let's just stop. Great about the weight loss. This is what we were talking about last week about losing weight and feeling shite when you do it. You don't need to cut carbs out, especially if you're doing CrossFit. Carbs are not making you fat. It's too many calories. There's loads of ways to go about creating that weight loss without cutting carbs out.
You don't need to cut anything out.
No,
you know?
God, any diet that tells you to cut something out, just
we're talking like protein, carbs, fat here.
Yeah, your macros.
But
also,
if they tell you to cut out like, you know, Twinkies, then maybe.
Yeah, fair enough. But that your carbs, like adding your carbs back in, it can be unprocessed carbs, potato, rice, you know, even oats. You can eat some of your oats.
So I think there's 2 parts to this. One is just the basic nutritional element. Like the CrossFit is suffering. They're like, it might be relevant that I don't like training as much. Maybe. It definitely is, but
totally.
I can see how there's a big psychological thing going on here. So this person has successfully lost weight doing something that's actually relatively hard to do. Okay, so they've successfully done that, they feel good about that, they feel good about the weight loss, but then there's these payoffs. So their wife's saying their breath stinks and that they're bad-tempered, which can definitely, I know plenty of people that are perfectly successful in the keto diet, and I've not got anything against the keto diet. Like, it can be perfectly good for some people and it's good for some medical conditions and blah, blah, blah. But see, when you then bring in high intensity exercise, different story. Also, be careful of people's anecdotal stories. So I always get this, people are like, oh, ultra runner X, Y, and Z does keto. I'm like, cool. I'm sure they do, and I'm sure they do great. I have no idea if they would do better if they weren't on keto. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it suits them. Because guess what? You're unique.
I was about to say it's not relevant to you.
Yeah, you're unique. So be careful of being certain that you have the answer because you've seen some evidence that something has worked. Okay, so this person, that I love this because it's complex. They've lost the weight, they feel great about the weight loss, and they don't want to ruin that. And I get that, so hard I get that. But then they've got this payoff where their breath stinks, because like that can happen with the low carbs and the bad temper as well, if they're trying to do that high intensity exercise along with it. Also, they might not be ketogenic, like, so they might be hitting keto and then coming out of it, because it's actually really hard to be in ketosis. Like, it takes a tiny amount of carbs and you're no longer
still eating some.
So like they could be fluctuating, because they just say they cut out carbs, but I'm not sure if they really understand what that means. That they don't enjoy training anymore. I mean, come on, that used to be the best part of their day.
Yeah, that's when you know whatever you're doing.
Like, is the payoff worth it?
No.
Like, what's going on here? It's like, I've lost the weight, but I feel like crap. Is more or less what they're saying, or they're saying their wife thinks they feel like crap.
I'd be interested to know if they're tracking food, like tracking their calories. One, if they're eating too little calories. You know, we're blaming the carbs here.
Yeah, okay.
That, you know, that is the take.
Okay.
It's probably both, though. You know, if you're cutting out a whole food group and you're losing weight, if you've lost weight rapidly, you're probably very little calories.
Yeah, so just to hold on that point for a minute. So if you've lost weight because you've cut out carbs, initially you'll get a bump in weight loss because of water retention. So you'll lose a bunch of weight initially, maybe in the first week or so. You might lose quite a dump of weight, and you'll be like, oh my god, I found the holy grail. You've not. If you then continue to lose weight, it's because you're eating less calories, not because you've cut out carbs.
Thank you. Preach. Amen.
And I think that is so important for people to understand. And I think maybe that's where this question applies to more people, because I hear versions of this a lot, and there's a wee spin-off to this as well, where people will say to me, and they'll be very proud of themselves, oh yeah, so I've cut out carbs, and I'll be like, I doubt it.
Wrong.
Because what they really mean is that they've maybe stopped eating pasta, or they've stopped eating bread, or they've stopped eating, which, you know, in most cases good.
Good, yeah, I was about to say good.
Yeah, you know, so sometimes there's a little bit confusion about what people are using carbs to mean processed food. Cool, cut that out, right? But they're not maybe realizing that when they say carbs are things with carbohydrate in them. And really, we could sit here and name a ton of foods that are protein, that are fat, that are carbs, so that people understand what those macros are. But the easiest way to learn is to track everything you eat in an app like MyFitnessPal. And you'll start to see, you'll record your chicken, you'll see how much protein it's got in it. You'll record your veggies, you'll see how many carbs they've got in them. And you'll start to get a real better overview of like what foods contain. You know? So yeah, for this guy, I mean, the advice would be what Beth said, like, check your calories.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, like,
doing that,
36-year-old guy doing CrossFit 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know how many calories he's eating, but the implication that he's so low in energy and everything, like, means that his calories are probably low.
Yeah.
He should really be eating some carbs for CrossFit as well.
100%. And if you track your calories, you'll also know how much carbs you're eating, and if you really are eating no carbs.
Yeah.
You know.
Without any more information about the guy, his height, his weight, like how hard he's training, what weights he's lifting and all that, we can't be prescriptive about the number of calories or the number of carbs or the protein or anything. Like, that's the advice, is record your food.
Yes.
Assess like your calorie intake. Like, for a 36-year-old guy, doing CrossFit 4 times a week? Nah, I hesitate to give numbers there. I'd hesitate. But what I will say is, if he's only eating 1,500 calories, it's not enough.
Nah, yeah. Pick a number to assess with. Yeah. If your weight goes up, you need to cut back. If you want to lose weight, you know, etc., etc.
I think that's a really interesting problem, though, because, you know, they've done this positive thing that they're really pleased with, but they've got this horrible payoff, and they're trying to find that balance. And I think that my progress has stalled recently and it used to be the best part of my day, now I have to make myself go. I think that's quite common. I've had versions of that question where people are like looking at their performance and they're not sure why it's not as good as they feel like it should be. Sometimes that's just a little bit of like disproportionate feeling about where they're at. But sometimes it's like just like energy output. Are you fueling yourself with enough energy to have that output? And I would say that's a very common CrossFit problem. It's probably common in other sports as well that I'm less familiar with, but I think that desire to look a certain way and to perform certain ways shows up in CrossFit quite a lot, and people under-fueling themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I really hope that helps, I really do. Those questions were fabulous.
Weren't they?
Yeah, really, really good. We would welcome more.
Any leave them in the comments.
Any questions, so even questions added on to like what we've talked about today would be fantastic. I think that's probably us for today.
Yeah, I know, that was great.
Yeah, thank you, Beth.
The pleasure as always, Anne.
And we will be back shortly with another one.
See you in the next episode.
Bye for now.